And you want to, start with the best people, and you want to digest as much as you can, as fast as you can from the masters. I want the results. I don't care about the price. I just care about the results. I like the results. I would have done this, but I was too busy watching Netflix. All I care about is I get the results I want. That's all I give a damn about.
Phone Warriors Nation, we have another fantastic episode for you. The one and only Micheal Young. All right, Micheal Young comes from the West Coast. Micheal, introduce yourself. Tell me a little bit about where you work and what you do over there.
I work in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I've been in real estate for, well, actually since 1984. First developing mobile home parks, and then in 1990, I started working with Mike Ferry in real estate brokerage.
So you
Wow,
were
okay.
you were a real estate broker when you first came in, or just a brokerage?
I was an agent, and then about a year later, I think I got my broker's license a year or two later.
Wow.
So what are the Micheal, what are the top two things that you've learned in your career around mindset? Like if there's one, two things that you can say to yourself, oh, look, I've been in this business longer than most people have been born half the time. Like what can you pull from your knowledge base that is like the mindset that really you feel like triggers you to be at such a high level?
I think you have to look at the masters of how they thought. So when I am looking at master thinkers, I'm looking at Charlie Munger. I'm looking at Earl Nightingale, Napoleon Hill, and you want to, start with the best people, and you want to digest as much as you can, as fast as you can from the masters. You've got to know how they think, how they thought, so that you can take those lessons and then make them your own. And then you have to come from an abundance mentality, always from an abundance mentality, never fear-based. And conversely, one of the most valuable things I got from, for example, Charlie Munger is the inversion method. Are you guys familiar with that, or would you like me to share that?
Please share it for our listeners. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. The inversion method is you want to take a look at something, either a problem or something you'd like to have, and you invert it. For example, if you wanted to be a master real estate agent, where you're making 500,000, $1 million, $2 million, $5 million a year, you want to take a look at what are the things that someone that is not doing that is not going to be a master salesperson or master business person. What are the things they're going to do? Well, first of all, they're going to get up late. They're not going to exercise. They're not going to do their goals. They're not going to do any visualization. They're going to hang around people that are partying all the time or are losers. They're going to start their day late. They're not going to prospect. They're going to, on the weekends, party a lot, have a terrible diet. They're definitely not going to have any kind of mentorship. They're not going to have any coaching. And they're going to follow what 97% of the pack does. So that's, if you want to be a complete loser, that's what you would do. So you say, well, what are you talking about? Now you invert that. You make a list of all the things you would do to lose as a business person or a salesperson, and you reverse it. You'd get up at 4:30. You'd start the day with your affirmations, meditation, visualization. You would get to the gym by 5:30. You'd be at the office by 7:30. You'd meet with either your team or an assistant of some kind, or your TM, whatever it is. And then you would start prospecting for 3 to 4 hours, uninterrupted. Then you would set appointments. You would master all of your listing presentations, your pre-qualifications, your objection handlers. You would make it part of your DNA. You would have very specific goals, and you would carry those goals in your pocket every day, just like I do, which I got from Earl Nightingale and Mike Ferry and Bob Proctor right here.
Wow.
Always in my pocket. Why? Because I can touch it, I can feel it. I wrote it this morning. It's always, and then the rest of the afternoon, you would be going on appointments and taking listings, and then everything else would be handled by your administrator or assistant or staff, whatever it is. So it's called the inversion process. That Charlie Munger made that famous. And you can do that with anything.
And every morning you're rewriting your goals onto a little sheet and putting it in there in your pocket, or is that once you wrote it once and you just read it every day?
Well, I write it down every morning fresh. And every time I go for anything in my pocket, I'm touching it. When you touch it, it goes from your fingers to your arm to your brain, and then it's just a constant reminder. You're constantly, your job is to constantly program your mind all day long for what it is you want.
Hmm.
That's your job.
So, I mean, that's amazing, actually, that you're sharing that. I don't think a lot of people really do that. I mean, what did you, speaking about, let's say, health a little bit, you mentioned exercise as something that you obviously are doing now. I'm assuming you've been doing for a while. How is exercising, or how does your morning routine help you throughout your day, or has helped you in your career in general?
Well, I have a philosophy of I call it ABT. It's always be training. You're always training. Now, I'm going to say something that's controversial, but it's okay. We're friends. I never got jabbed, never got the vaccine, never got COVID. I've never taken a flu shot. But what you don't know is that about 16, 17 years ago, I stopped eating flour, sugar, and dairy. So I have a non-inflammatory diet. I train nonstop. So when I get to the gym, I'm either doing hardcore lifting or HIIT exercises, not HIIT being high intensity interval training. I don't just do cardio on a machine for 40 minutes. So I'm either doing heavy lifting or HIIT. And then on the weekends, I'm doing something called Krav Maga. Krav Maga is Israeli self-defense. You're assuming, it's basically street fighting. You're assuming multiple attackers with weapons. So, and there are no rules. And you have no gear. You have boxing gloves, but half the time you're without gloves. So it's basically MMA. So what you're trying to do, by the way, I don't want to fight anybody. I'm a lover, not a fighter, but this is all to train the body and the mind, because life can be very challenging at times. And if you're inflamed, 20, 30, 40 pounds overweight, you're not mentally and physically tough, or as tough as you're able to be, you're going to get run over. It's only a matter of time. Or you're not going to be at the highest level possible, and you're not going to be able to defend your family both fiscally and physically. Fiscally meaning money, physically being with your body and mind. My job is to protect. I have multiple teams all over the country. With my investments, I have my team here with my brokerage. I have my family. I have a lot of responsibility, and I don't take it lightly. So it starts with the guy or the gal in the mirror every morning at 4:30 up until the time I go to bed. That's my job. That's my belief system.
And one of my first questions that, as you're talking about this, is how do you handle the distractions that come at you then? How are you able to stay so sharp and to the schedule and to what the mission statement, what the mission is that you have? How are you able to stay so sharp when life is coming at you? You do have a family, you do have investments, you have other teams, you have brokerage, you have a team. How are you able to still stay on track 100% of the time? It's how I feel is what you do.
Well, first of all, nobody stays on track 100% of the time. You take off from San Francisco airport, you go to Hawaii. 99% of the time, that plane is off track a little bit, but it lands in Hawaii at the time it's supposed to land. I am completely boxed in. What you don't know is that on my way to the gym, I have to videotape on my phone, not videotape, but send a recording that I'm going to the gym to my second in command. If I don't do that, he cashes a check for $500. Eddie Oberai, when I first get up, I have to send Eddie my definite major purpose by recording, and I have to send him what I've written down. If I don't do that, Eddie cashes a check for $1,000. So plus I have, my coaches and mentors. I have my Krav Maga coach. I have my fitness coach. I have Mike Ferry. I have other mentors. I don't have the luxury of not moving forward. I don't have a choice. I've set up my life where I am being watched and measured all day long, 7 days a week. You say, well, gosh, you have no freedom. No, actually, I have a lot of freedom because I want the results. I don't care about the price. I just care about the results. I like the results. The results are all that matters.
I hope everyone just heard that, and what you just said. Is that I don't care about the price. That's epic. Okay. We have a lot of young agents, Michael, that watch this. And I think that they think it's supposed to be some convenient way of becoming really successful in this business. But you, my friend, just hit the nail on the head, in my opinion.
Well, watch this. Everybody has options. And that's the problem, is that we have too much freedom, too many options. If you would allow me to, I would never get out of bed. I would Grubhub some pizza and ice cream and watch TV in bed all day. I don't want to do, you have to have your head examined if you think I want to get out of bed at 4:30, 4:15, get up at 4:15, be out of bed by 4:20, do all the stuff I do. It's not easy, but again, it's all about the results. At the end of the day, I'm tired, but I know that all that I care about is I've given the best I can for the day. You know, after I work out, I'll send a picture of my shirt to my trainer, and it's usually half soaked or all soaked. The thing is, you know, the question is, did you leave it all on the floor? And and you guys know this in sports, it's that phrase, have you left it all on the floor? In other words, did you give it your everything? Did you give it your all? You know, life is short, guys. Life is very short. I'll be 61 in March. And if you're 25, 30 years old, believe me, tomorrow you're going to be 35 and then 40 and then 50. It happens very fast. And it's the person that gives everything they can. You don't want to be on your deathbed and go, you know, I would have done this, but I was too busy watching Netflix. I could have done this, but I didn't. Oh, that's the other thing. From 8 o'clock to 11, my phone and the chair goes in the other room to my second in command. I have to stand up, and I have no access to my phone. You say, well, what's wrong with you? Why are you so undisciplined? I know I'm undisciplined. That's why I do all this stuff. That's the whole point. I know if I leave it up to myself, you say, well, you're very weak. Fine, call me whatever you want. All I care about is I get the results I want. That's all I give a damn about. Everything else is just blah, 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 blah. You leave me the pizza, I'll eat the whole pizza. That's why I don't eat pizza.
Well, I have to say, you know, getting rid of flour, sugar, and dairy, it's very interesting. Something I've been embarking on recently, and it's what a game changer, I will say. But going back to being results focused, when did you have that moment in your career where your results started to, like, all of a sudden come to fruition and you became this overnight success? Like, how long did it take you realistically? Because there's a lot of, listen, Michael, there's a lot of agents that come to us in our Phone Warriors group and other places, and they're like, oh, but Dean or Rich, you know, you guys, you're already doing the thing. I said, what are you talking about? I'm like an overnight success 7 years later. But what about for you? Was it just like year one, Micheal Young was just the beast and the savage that you are? Tell me more about that.
I'm still working on it every day. I mean,
great answer.
I got to tell you, I'm only competing with my business plan and myself. I'm not competing with anybody else. And so I don't know how to answer that, because all I care about is I'm focusing on what I'm doing every day, every week, every month, every year, and in my case, every decade. So I'm not worried about big jumps. What I'm more concerned about is every day, can I just microscopically every day improve just a tiny bit more? You say, well, that's not much. Yeah, after 365 days, see where that gets you. For example, 11 months ago, I did not look like this. I had allowed myself to put on some weight. I got a little loose with foods that I normally wouldn't do. Started breaking some of my own rules. When I turned 60, I really recommitted. In the last 11 months, I've completely transformed a lot of different things. But I had to, again, tighten up, box myself in, more accountability, guys, is really the key. If you really want to know the key, that's it. You can set all the goals you want, but if you don't have tight accountability, tight boxes you're fitting in, I mean, I guess it's possible, but if you study Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Warren Buffett, Walt Disney, Einstein, it doesn't matter who you're talking to, you'll find a very common thread that all these incredible men and these women have had the last 100 years. And that is, they have a definite major purpose, every single one of them. And they have high accountability. And they don't do a lot of things well. They do one or two things really well, usually one thing. They master that, which then allows them to branch off into other things. Jeff Bezos, oh, look at him, you know, he's overnight success. Really, you see him 30 years ago, he had one incredible idea, and he took that incredible idea, mastered it, and then branched off into other things. But he first had that one, Elon Musk. Well, now he's conquering the world. Not 20 years ago. That's why it's so important you study the masters. You've got to study the masters to see who became you, to learn the basic universal laws and thought process so you can make it your own. It's incredibly important. But again, it's really discipline and accountability. Without that, at least one man, I'm nothing without that. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, that's well said. I mean, I guess the other thing I was thinking about is money management too with you, because one thing I've always admired about you, I don't know if you even knew this, but I always looked up to you when it comes to the financial just aspect of how you look at the business. And I'll never forget this one interview that I heard you on, and you said something about it's not about what you make, it's about what you keep. Can you go a little bit more on that? Was that something that you learned like before you got so disciplined and having this high degree of accountability? Or was this something that it was like in concert with you learning all the things that you've learned in your career?
Well, I was very fortunate. My father taught me that when I was very young. And then when I heard Mike Ferry say it, it really, again, took it to, I was ready again in my mid-20s. So I'd already been hearing it for about 5 or 10 years working with my dad. And then when Mike said it, and Mike was so critical about it, and then I've studied the masters. You know, you'll watch people. I've had the good fortune to watch people the last 34 years in brokerage. And Dean, you and I have seen people that have made incredible sums of money, and then you see them 3 years, 5 years, 10 years later, and they're gone from the business. What happened? Well, either they burned out because they really weren't disciplined in how they did things, or they weren't disciplined. So watch. Normally, if you have strong disciplines in one area, you're going to have strong disciplines in another area. Normally. So for me to be consistent, it's not just about, watch, if you can be disciplined enough to not eat sugar, flour, and dairy and get up at 4:20, then it's not a big stretch to say, okay, I'm going to take most of my money, and if I have to pay taxes, I'll pay some taxes on it. And most of the rest, I'm just going to save away until I put it into stocks or real estate or whatever it is you like to invest in. Everything is connected. That's why you have to be so careful about what it is you do and what it is you put in your body and how you think. If you allow bad stuff in your head, bad stuff will come out of your mouth, and then you'll have bad habits. If you allow bad stuff in your mouth, your body will show it, and you're going to have bad stuff coming to your health. So everything is connected. Every area has to have discipline. And it's to the extent that discipline you have in each area that you'll get the results you'll want or won't have in your life. It's no more complicated than that. So if you say, well, maybe if I start with small things, this weekend I'm not going to drink alcohol. I'm going to try it for one weekend. And then you take it in the next weekend. Then say after 3, 6, 9 months, whatever it is, you either stop or you've gotten a handle on it where you no longer have alcohol as a big driver in your life. Then you go, wow, I can't believe I did. I wonder if I could put away $1,000 a month. And then you start putting away $1,000 a month. And then you've got a certain amount saved. You go, gosh, I wonder if I could take this 20,000. I wonder if I could put it into this one stock or this one piece of property or whatever it is you want to throw into some investment. So you start with the small disciplines, then you keep branching out, but you make the commitment, and then you have someone hold you accountable on the commitment. Hey, Dean, you said you wanted me to hold you accountable on the $1,000. We're coming up to March 1st. Are you going to do it? No, I'm not going to do it. What the hell's the problem? Well, I want to buy a belt. Okay, well, you have the belt, but you don't have the $1,000, and you went back on your word. Or, yeah, man, I got it. Good for you. What do you want to do for April? Another $1,000. Good. You want me to check in with you, or are you going to check in with me? Yeah, absolutely. So I'm not sure if I'm answering your question properly, but if you want to have great money management, try starting to get up at a time that isn't comfortable for you.
No, you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly the answer I was looking for, because I figured this was the connection and connecting the dots between the proper money management that you've professed for so many years and you getting up at like that time and everything, other disciplines and commitments you're holding yourself to. So I think that's phenomenal.
And earlier you touched upon vision, right? Vision boards. Are you doing a vision board every year, or how are you keeping track on some of these goals? Because, you know, like you said, you've been in this business for such a long time. You're about to be 61 years old, and one might look at you that you have everything. So how do you keep it internal for you? What you would like next?
Well, you have something called, or you don't have something called a definite major purpose, old school Napoleon Hill. So you have your goals and you have your dreams, all that stuff. But what is your big purpose? This goal that is terrifying to you is so big that you don't even know how to get there. But that's not really the point. It doesn't matter whether you know how to get there or not. Do you actually know what you want? And is it so big that it might take literally a lifetime for you to achieve? See, that's the question. What do you want? That's number one.
Mhm.
What price are you willing to pay? And then how soon do you want to get there? So I have a goal that I set 2 years ago that by 2008, I expect to have a certain amount of apartment units under my belt with a certain amount of passive income and a certain amount of net worth. Because people say, why are you still selling real estate? You don't need to sell real estate. Technically, I don't, but the profits I make from the real estate, I just put aside and then put into more real estate because it's just a perfect circle. One thing feeds into the other. That's all I've been doing the last 40 years. I just keep buying. I just want to keep buying more real estate because I want to have a jet, because I want to fly around and buy more real estate. That makes me happy. I mean, you know, once you have a nice car and a nice watch and a nice house and you have all the trappings, it has to be something, it has to be something monumentally big that very few people have done. And what if I hit this? Trust me, very few people in the United States, Canada, or Europe have done this. But it takes a real commitment. So that's what gets me up at 4:20 in the morning and keeps me working, you know, all year round and into my 60s, 70s, and 80s probably.
How many units, Michael, right now do you guys own?
Well, my portfolio between California, Texas, and Ohio is right now 1,550.
And what are you looking to get to with that?
10,000.
10,000.
All right, so we're 90% there.
Awesome. That's amazing. So that's a big, it's a huge goal. So we have a lot of newer agents that are in our Phone Warriors group in general that approach us. And if there was a new agent that approached you, open up your door at Princeton Pacific Properties and said, Michael, I'm a new agent. What advice do you have for me? What are you telling these new agents coming on right now?
You have to learn your scripts. You have to know what to say. And until you know what to say, there's really nothing else to talk about.
Yeah, but Michael, I want to learn about Instagram and some other stuff that is all out there. How do you focus then, like agents like that are, you know, do you just say, you know what? Sorry, bud, like it's just not going to work.
You're not going to like this answer.
No, I love it. Bring it on. There's
an old quote, and I'm trying to remember who said it. It's a business quote that I just love. And they said, you know, they asked this one business owner, they said, you have such nice people that work at your company. How do you teach them to be nice? How do you train them to be nice people? Because we don't find people and train them to be nice people. We just find nice people to work at our company. So you say, well, what do you mean by that? You want to find the person that is going to be great no matter what. You're just going to help them focus and give them the right skills to become the monster they're probably going to be no matter what. Give them whatever it is they need, and you give it to them 24/7. If you're not that person, I don't want to deal with you.
So you're looking for killers. That's
only for killers. Because if you really look at what the tech guys did, the tech pros, whether it's Elon Musk or Zuckerberg or any of those guys, what they did is they found 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 killers, gave them a piece of the company, got the work going, and then they, you know, found other good people, not killers, but really good people. And that's how they built these trillion-dollar companies. They didn't start out with 1, 3, 5 regular people and, you know, somehow use their magic. No. They found amazingly talented people and just put them in the right scenario, gave them whatever they needed, and let them flourish with high accountability, strong leadership and goals. Now, it's simple, it's not easy. So I didn't think you'd like that answer, but that's one man's opinion.
I love that answer. Are you kidding me? That's the way, that's to me, that's the way I think everyone that's listening to this right now, if you took anything away, it's this. It's what Micheal is saying on this platform right now. Okay. So Micheal, let me ask you this. This is the last question I have for you, really, because I want to know what you would say to yourself if you had a time machine, okay, and you went to go back in time to yourself, knowing what you know now, and you had the full attention of yourself. You're sitting yourself down in the 80s or the 90s or whatever. What are one to two things you're telling yourself back then that you wish you knew or that you would say to your former self?
Think bigger. And only surround yourself with killers. Be ruthless with your time. Be ruthless with your energy. Only say yes to absolute killers. Don't waste any time with anybody less than a killer and or people that support you 1000%. And get used to being alone in your travels, because very few people are going to travel with you on this journey, because they're not going to be willing to pay the price you're going to pay. And it's going to take 10 times longer than you think. Even if you break out and do great business, to fully mature, it's going to take a good minimum 10 years. Minimum. I don't care if you start making a lot of money fast. You're either going to blow it or not invest it or gain 50 pounds or get in a shitty relationship or take up a drug habit or alcohol or name your point, whatever it is. You're going to be immature even if you have a great talent. So you want to find somebody that's smarter and older than you are to help guide you so you don't make the mistakes that most people do, because that's why those people blow up and you never hear from them again. Amazingly talented. They couldn't focus. They were vulnerable to certain things, as we all are. They didn't have somebody they listened to that said, hey, Dean, you're a killer, but you're also out of control. How old are you now?
38.
Yeah. And wife and 2 kids?
3 kids and a wife, yeah.
Yeah. You haven't yet earned the privilege of X, Y, and Z yet. So we're going to set up these disciplines for you until you have. Maybe by that time you're 50, if you do everything I say, you won't have to work anymore. You'll have a lot of freedom, more money than you can spend. But you have not earned the right yet, based on your track record and based on your mindset and based on the actions I see, that you get to pull this bullshit that you pull all the time. And you're already a great success, but that's nothing compared to where you could be if you just tighten things up, get your head on straight, listen to the old man, and let me help you guide you. You do that, I'll give you my time. You don't do that, it's been nice knowing you.
Well, there it is. That's a mic drop right there. If there was any mic drops. Nice.
Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense to me. Rich, you want to, I mean, you can, ask, your last question here, and then we can wrap it up.
Well, I think he touched upon it. I mean, really and truly, it's about the legacy that you want to leave behind. And, he said it's a very audacious goal that it makes him sweat to wake up in the morning, that he still has to go achieve that. But, for the listeners, look in yourself, generation after generation, your children's children, so on and so forth, somebody looking at you 100 years down the road, what would you want them to know, one thing about yourself that you left a legacy behind?
For me personally?
Yeah, you personally.
Well, let me first say, everything I've said is not for everybody. I'm going to assume that most people that are listening to this are going to say this is complete nonsense.
Agree.
How can this guy expect us to do anything he's saying? He's an old man. He doesn't understand today's world. It's a different world. No problem. I'm glad, because my daughter's 19 years old. She's going to be competing with people that are told that every day. So I'm excited for her, because the bar keeps getting lower and lower and lower and lower for people to have anything. So again, and by the way, no judgment there.
No judgment.
We're all God's children. Far from me to judge anybody. So I'm just telling you right now, what I've said is not for everybody. It's just for people that want a certain kind of outcome or result. And by the way, there's a lot of different ways to get there. This is just one person's opinion. But as far as legacy, I don't know. I just want to be a great dad, so my kid is proud of her father, and I hope I've helped people along the way that could call me a good friend and a good just someone that did the best he could and showed loyalty to the people that he cared about, and was always there if people needed something, was always there to try to help in any way that he could. Because everything else is, we're just renting everything. The buildings, the watch, the car. When I die, it's going to go to either well, everything goes to my daughter, but I mean, I'm just renting this stuff. It's not forever. I've read this many, many years ago. A comedian that was opening up for Frank Sinatra spent a lot of time with Sinatra when they weren't performing. And Sinatra was, I think, getting out of a car or something, and this lady came up to him and said, "Oh, Mr. Sinatra, you're so incredible. Thank you for all your service," and blah, blah, blah. And he goes, "Gosh, I thank you. You're welcome." And she goes, you're just a thank you." And he takes off his cufflinks and he gives her the cufflinks, this lady. He says, "If you have a husband or son or somebody, or if you want to wear them, you can wear them, but enjoy them." And she's flabbergasted, and he walks away. And they're at the bar, and the comedian says to Sinatra, he goes, "Frank, what the heck was that about? Those are your favorite cufflinks. They were given to you by some king or queen, and you're most proud of them," and blah, blah, blah. And Sinatra said, he goes, "Man, you don't understand. I'm just renting those things. Once I was dead, they were going to go to somebody else anyway. Why not give it to this nice lady?"
Wow.
And when I read that, it really put things in perspective. Now, I will tell you, I like nice things. I really do. But I also understand that, especially as you get older, it's really about what you're contributing to people. The greatest privilege we have is to be of service. It's the greatest privilege. And I didn't say that. Albert Schweitzer said that. To be able to be of service to somebody, it's great to buy a $3,000 set of cufflinks, or to have a beautiful car, or whatever it is, whatever material things, or whatever, hot girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever it is. But I got to tell you, almost nothing leaves me with a sense of accomplishment, except for what I can give to my daughter or a friend, than to provide amazing service for people, whether it's putting a roof over someone's head as a landlord, or helping somebody in a real estate transaction, or being on this podcast, which maybe one person it will affect, that maybe it'll help them have a better life somehow. I just feel better about things that I can do that to contribute. So I don't know if that answers your question, but
Oh, it answered my question, right? And I thought that was a perfect way to segue into the answer the way you did.
Yeah. Well, this has been great, Micheal. Where's the best way for referrals to find you, or to contact you and reach out to you for that?
I appreciate that. So my cell number is 415-215-3925. The name of the company is Princeton Pacific Properties. That's the real estate brokerage. My investment arm is Princeton Pacific Capital. And my email address is Micheal, Michael, @princetonpacific.com. And you can check in anytime.
Awesome. Any San Francisco referrals in the general Bay Area, you know where to send your clients, guys. Micheal, thank you again. This has been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.